The Christian community around the world is mourning the sudden passing of Voddie Baucham Jr., a prominent pastor, theologian, and best-selling author who died at the age of 56 on Thursday, September 25, 2025, after a sudden medical emergency. The heartbreaking news was confirmed by Founders Ministries, where Baucham served as president, in an emotional statement on social media. "We are saddened to inform friends that our dear brother, Voddie Baucham Jr., has left the land of the dying and entered the land of the living," the ministry wrote. The announcement quickly spread across church networks, social media, and Christian media outlets, prompting an overwhelming wave of grief, reflection, and gratitude for a man whose life had been defined by his unwavering dedication to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Baucham's death not only leaves a deep void in his family and ministry, but also in the wider evangelical world, where his bold teachings on faith, biblical manhood, cultural apologetics, and family discipleship impacted countless lives. Early life, from humble beginnings to a calling in ministry. Born in 1969 in Los Angeles, California, Voddie Thresher Baucham Jr. was raised by a single mother in a challenging environment. Growing up without a father figure, he often shared with audiences that his childhood was marked by hardship, but also by a deep sense of resilience instilled by his mother. These early experiences of brokenness and searching for meaning would later inform much of his ministry focus on fatherhood, familyhood, and biblical manhood. In his testimony, Baucham often emphasized that the absence of a father in his own life gave him an even greater passion to teach others about God's design for family, marriage, and parenting. Despite his environment, Baucham excelled academically and athletically. He played football in college, but ultimately felt a calling to ministry that would redirect his life completely. His path led him into theological studies, seminary, and eventually into the pulpit, where his unique ability to combine intellectual rigor with pastoral care became evident. Ministry in the United States. Voddie Baucham's ministry began in Houston, Texas, where he pastored and gained recognition for his passionate, scripture-driven preaching style. He challenged cultural norms and never shied away from controversial topics, addressing issues such as gender roles, racial reconciliation, marriage, and the authority of the Bible. Baucham's voice rose to prominence during a time when many churches in America were wrestling with questions of cultural engagement. His insistence on Scripture as the foundation and his rejection of what he often called the cultural compromise of modern Christianity distinguished him from many contemporaries. One of his most well-known sermon series focused on family-driven discipleship, urging parents to take responsibility for the spiritual education of their children rather than outsourcing it entirely to churches or youth ministries. His emphasis on family worship, fathers leading the home, and building households of faith resonated deeply within evangelical circles. Global ministry and work in Africa. Baucham's influence extended far beyond the United States. In the mid-2010s, he accepted an invitation to serve as Dean of Theology at African Christian University in Lusaka, Zambia. This move surprised some of his followers, but for Baucham, it was a natural step in his calling to contribute to the global church. In Zambia, he trained pastors, mentored theology students, and helped develop curricula designed to root African church leaders in biblical orthodoxy. His decision to relocate demonstrated his conviction that the gospel is global, transcending Western cultural frameworks. Colleagues and students in Zambia remembered him as not only a skilled teacher, but also a spiritual father figure who poured his life into raising up the next generation of Christian leaders. His years in Africa solidified his reputation as an international figure in evangelicalism. Best-selling author and influential teacher. In addition to his preaching and teaching, Baucham was a prolific writer whose books became staples in evangelical households and churches. Among his most influential works were Family-Driven Faith, a book urging parents to disciple their children and build Christ-centered homes; The Ever-Loving Truth, a bold apologetic defense of biblical Christianity in a culture increasingly hostile to the faith; Fault Lines, the social justice movement and evangelicalism's looming catastrophe, perhaps his most controversial work, in which Baucham critiqued the rise of critical race theory and the social justice movement within evangelical churches. arguing that it threatened the unity of the gospel. These works cemented Baucham's reputation as both a pastoral voice and a cultural critic, willing to address difficult issues with clarity and conviction. For many evangelicals, his writings provided courage to stand firm in their faith amidst cultural pressures, health battles, and personal resilience. Baucham's life was not without trials. In February 2021, he was diagnosed with heart failure and required immediate treatment. He traveled to the Mayo Clinic in Florida, where he underwent a major surgical procedure that saved his life. During this time, the Christian community rallied around him in prayer and financial support, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars to cover his medical expenses. Baucham later expressed his deep gratitude, acknowledging that his survival was not only the result of excellent medical care, but also the intercession of countless believers worldwide. These health struggles, however, did not slow his commitment to ministry. If anything, they sharpened his resolve to use every moment of his life for the gospel.